just chilling out here in my compound. And no, I'm just kidding. I don't actually I don't actually have a compound. But hey, we're just settled down here for the night. Thought I would go live for a couple minutes, chat with you guys. Renee, appreciate it. Really appreciate you guys' support. Right now things are a little hectic as we think about this, but I just wanted to go live and let you guys know that we're good, we're safe. Quite an adventure, and I am working on what I think is going to be an amazing video to tell you kind of what went down the past few weeks as we realized, you know, we can't just sit around and let these psychotic prosecutors like Prosecutor Mark in Grant County, these prostitute judges, these charlatan terrorist police officers like Patrick Kennedy who completely trample the rule of law, like we're seeing in the Bundy case, like we're seeing with Jeff Winehouse, with Schaefer Cox, right? And it just keeps getting worse. Guys, America is truly breathing its last. I saw a post today that was, some outrage was coming out about from the sheriff in Texas, Sheriff Tony something, and he was saying, he showed a photo of this guy who had an F Trump sticker on his window. Now, I don't usually use messaging like that, right? I mean, all the politicians are screwing us over, but I like to keep the high road and keep the principled message, right? But this sheriff was saying, well, I've got approval from the prosecutor to charge this guy with disorderly conduct unless he wants to negotiate and, you know, kind of like change the message a little bit, right? So you literally have a sheriff whose job is to defend the Constitution, whose job is to oppose what the blue line is doing, whose job is to oppose the prosecution of people like the Bundys and like you for victimless crimes and like me in what I'm dealing with being arrested for filming a cop, right? And literally this sheriff is out there saying, if you don't agree with me, then I can charge you, right? These are true terrorists, you guys. These are the enemies of the Constitution and freedom. And it's not about Trump versus Obama versus any of all these guys are traitors, right? Trump is truly the enemy of the Constitution because he's actively waging war. The Bundys are being persecuted and on trial in court right now because of the Donald Trump. He is the administration bringing them to trial. And in fact, and this isn't open to dispute to a rational person that understands the law, the Bundys would have been released almost a year ago if Trump's administration had not chosen to continue prosecuting them, okay? That's 100% on his admin. And so what we see here is people that are living in true denial, right? We see people saying, oh no, it's getting better, it's gonna be good, Republicans are in now. And this is my warning to you as I'm seeing this firsthand, right? As I'm having to make some tough choices to say, how do I protect my family? How do I remain a voice for liberty, for my people, for you, for my family, for my neighbors, if I sit around and simply take it up the rear from our government and say, well, it's okay, right? We gotta fight it out their way. I don't have to fight their way. I don't have to fight their way. My judge is the maker of all law. My judge is the king of the universe. Now, I don't force anybody to believe the way I do, just like he doesn't. But you know what? I don't need to even recognize a court. And here's the crux of it. The court in my county, I was being dragged into a court to have to argue whether or not I should be forced. That means force, compelled, force, by force, or I'm tortured in jail, to give them access to my personal information in my phone, all right? In every possible sense, the officials in my county are criminals. And we're absolutely within the law to say, I'm not going to comply with that. I'm going to walk away from that. I'm not going to comply. I'm not going to put myself in that peril. I'm too much in danger and in jeopardy. But we have to count the cost. We have to know what that means, all right? And I get to see that firsthand, what that means. And I'm gonna make a story. I'm gonna tell you guys what the past week has been like in saying, you know what? I'm not just gonna sit down and comply. I'm not gonna allow these people to continue to threaten me and my family and just walk in and let them keep bringing more charges and lock me in their jails where they can keep me indefinitely. Now, where do we go from here? Well, America is falling. And you need to understand that. The United States of America is going down. There's no fixing it at the ballot box. There's no restoring this. Now, that doesn't mean we don't appeal to heaven. It doesn't mean we don't be honorable, because I want to be very clear. A bloody revolution doesn't fix it either, because the people's hearts aren't there, guys. We don't love our neighbor. We don't love liberty. People love it that the people they hate are being locked away in prisons forever, okay? You can't have a nation free like that. See, America's an exception. While we run around claiming our freedom, we're actually one of the #1 most enslaved nations in the world. We don't have freedom. We have permits and permission. That's all we have. And so for the people out there talking tough about their guns, I mean, gun rights are great, right? We should absolutely defend those, just like speech rights. But that's all tough talk, right? The people with the guns aren't even showing up. They're not protesting. They're not resisting. The people with the guns are saying freedom, 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 but support the blue line. So there's this cognitive dissonance, okay? And, you know, yes, Money Mac, I believe that you were more free in Iraq, because America is not a free country. And I'm going to be talking about that at length. I'm going to show you guys some examples of that in the coming weeks with some of the new videos I'm working on. And we're going to take this on with the truth. And we are going to start crushing this narrative that America's free, that it's the best, that at least we're still free, that we should stop complaining or leave because at least we're still free. We're not free. The USA is a nation of slaves with people conditioned to believe they're free so much that they will celebrate and have parades for their own slavery and celebrate as their own children are imprisoned and their own families are abused and their neighbors are hauled away by blue ISIS. That's what we've come to. All right, so where I am is still not a matter of public discussion, but we'll be coming back to that, and I'll be working on some videos of that, and I can tell you what, I've had quite an exciting week, and I appreciate your guys' prayers. I appreciate your support. If you do want to pitch in, if you want to help us with some of the expenses of keeping the message going, you can PayPal me, paypal.me/Syme, and you can verify all that stuff and double check it, and also just skip PayPal and use other means, Bitcoin, etc. at callmegav.com/donate if you want to help out in that way. Otherwise, spread the word, mash that like button, subscribe. It's time to start standing up to these terrorists. It's time to stop pretending that any one of these parties has anything to do with the law, that any of our government, that any of our police and our sheriffs are defending the law. It's time to stop lying to ourselves and our children and digging a deeper hole of slavery. It's time to be free, you guys. It's time to be free. It's time to think free. It's time for a revolution of hearts, not a revolution of violence. Rushing to violence, hurting and killing, doing what they do, it doesn't fix it. And this isn't just this isn't some pacifist mindset, right? That's not my mindset. My mindset is we be for peace. We be for peace. We stand for peace. We stand up for our neighbor. And this is historically backed. All these people saying, like, I'm not going to take it anymore. And when they come for my guns, guys, they've already come for the guns. We have no gun rights in America. If you actually use a gun for anything the government doesn't like, even remotely, you go to prison, just like the Bundys. Right? Just like the people at the Bundy Ranch, just like the people in Oregon. There's no law in the courts. There's no Constitution recognized. So you look at the U.S. Constitution and we say, this is good. The Bill of Rights is beautiful and it's powerful. And then you look at maybe the constitutions of other nations and you say, well, these aren't as good. And yet, if you dig down, you'll start to realize that while the U.S. Constitution may be one of the best, it's completely ignored. And then you have, other nations around the world that their constitutions may not be quite as good and affirming, but their people stand up, their people have tenacity, their people don't worship slavery in the government. And so therefore, they actually have more freedom, even though their constitution may not be quite as elegant as ours. And there's other nations, at this point, America is going down. And other nations that are setting aside their faction and loving their neighbor and speaking out, they're going to be on the rise, and we're going to talk about that more in the future. Guys, I love America, and I want my people in the USA, I want us all to be free, right? I don't want us to become the third world nation that this third world justice is bringing upon us. But it's bad. The U.S. is probably #1 in the world for corruption and terrorism and abuse of the world and its own people. And it's time we get serious. It's time we start speaking out. It's time we humble ourselves. Stop thinking we're the greatest and the best when we're the most enslaved and the most false and the most, honestly, for the most part, America is the most enslaved nation in the world. Absolutely. Maybe there's some exceptions. People say, well, North Korea. Well, okay, but you're not in North Korea and neither am I, so I can't say that. You know, you're in America. And all we have to do is look at human rights, life, liberty, property, justice. There's no law in the USA. And until we have a system that refuses to tolerate criminals like Prosecutor Mark, that refuses to tolerate the harassing and collecting from men like Pat Kennedy, and that will peacefully stand for liberty and justice and freedom and due process for all, then it's over. And at this point, I don't see it coming back until it all falls down. But appeal to heaven, stand up, love your neighbor as yourself. I'll keep you guys posted. I'm doing well. I'm okay thus far, and I appreciate it. Keep standing. Love your neighbor. Peace.